Hi guys, and welcome to the Swindon vs Sunderland match preview. So this weekend Sunderland are finally back in action after missing out last weekend due to the international break. We are back underway in League One as we do go away from home to take on Swindon. So first of all, let's have a little focus on Swindon and their previous results. So Swindon, they started off their league campaign, their campaign of the season in general with a defeat in the Carabao Cup. They lost to Charlton by 3-1. Then they went into the EFL Trophy, which, you know, they more than likely used a second-string squad. But they did take on the West Brom under-21s, and they did lose by 3-2. So it wasn't a very promising start to the season for them. But they did start the League One campaign with a win, a 3-1 home win against Rochdale. And then they went away from home to Bloomfield Road to take on Blackpool, and they lost by 2-0. But then they did go back at home, they welcomed Burton, and they won by a massive 4-2. So a really inconsistent start for them. But then they did go away from home again, where they lost 3-1 to Peterborough, which isn't necessarily a poor result by any stretch, because Peterborough, again, as I've mentioned, they're a very strong side. I expect them to definitely be there or thereabouts, so potential champions this season. But then they did go back into the EFL Trophy and they lost 4-3 to Exeter. There's always massive scorelines in that competition, but again, it's probably because they more than likely used a second-string squad. But now, the final game, just before they are going to be taking on us, their last game, they did lose at home, their first home loss of the season, where they lost 1-0 to AFC Wimbledon. So, as you can see just by the results, I haven't seen too much of them, but they do seem very, very inconsistent. But it does seem that they do concede goals. So you'll be able to see in my preferred lineup, which I'll give you very shortly, that I have gone quite attacking because I do want to really get at them. And with no disrespect to Swindon, this is a team that we should be attacking, and we should be coming away with 3 points. But going on to us anyway, of course, last time out we did draw 0-0 with Charlton, a very, very frustrating result. It was probably one of our best performances, if not the best performance this season out of the opening 4 games in the league, and we somehow come away with a 0-0, even though we dominated Charlton. Again, another side who I think eventually they will be around the playoff spots. But we battered them for 60-70 minutes. We had a man sent off, and then it just changed the game and it allowed Charlton into it a bit, but it finished 0-0. But unfortunately, since then, we have picked up quite a handful of injuries. So Flanagan, as we did just mention, because he did pick up a red card, he won't be available to feature, which is a massive shame, given I think that our biggest sort of, you know, our biggest positive at the minute is our defence and our back line. We're not conceding goals, but Flanagan, of course, he's suspended, so we can't play. Feeney or Jamali, who probably would have been the players who would step in for him, both of them are injured. It's actually just been announced about 10 minutes before I started recording this, that Jamali, it has been confirmed that he's going to be out for the season, which is a massive blow for him, a massive, massive blow. And I was really excited to see him in action, but it's just luck of Sunderland, isn't it? We bring in 2 decent backup centre-backs, and both of them are injured. Feeney's, I haven't seen the extent, but I don't think it's a season-long injury, but it is quite a hefty one. I am led to believe anyway, so he can't feature either. And for a team that play 3 at the back, to lose 2 backup players, well 3 if you count Flanagan as a starting player as well, this is an absolute nightmare to deal with, and particularly because, like I say, our defence has been our most vocal point, our most positive point so far this season out of the opening 4 games. I'm really concerned that it's going to kind of break up the chemistry that they do have there. So you'll see in my preferred lineup what I have done with it, which I will show you in just a second. But hopefully in this game we can remain tight at the back, and I think as long as Bailey Wright is in the centre to boss around the other 2 either side of him and keep them calm, keep them strict and focused, I think we should be okay. I say should in capital letters there. But of course with Willis on one side of him as well. Willis did pick up a bit of a knock against Charlton, but Parkhurst did say it should only really be a few days. It was nothing really too major, so it's probably a bit of a blessing that we did have this little break here, even though a lot of people are against it. I am against it in general, but at the same time, with the injuries we did have at the back, I can kind of see why. It was decided that the international break, and we and we should reschedule the game. So I can kind of see both sides, really. It's frustrating because I hate the fact that we get games in hand, and it doesn't mean that you've got a bonus there. And a lot of people look at it and think, oh yeah, but we've got a game in hand there, it's fine because we'll win that one. But you have to win that game. You have to win that game in hand, which isn't always a given, which we learned in the first season in particular, where we had, I think it was 2 games in hand, 1 or 2 games in hand, and we were like 2-3 points off the top or in second place, and we completely bottled it and ended up in the playoffs, and we know how that went. But anyway, we'll go into my preferred 11 now. In this preferred 11, usually, as I've always said when I do these preferred 11s, I always say that, of course, this isn't the 11 that I believe it to be. This is just what I would prefer to see. Now, usually when I do these preferred 11s, I do take into consideration what I do think Parkinson's going to do as well, so I kind of mix my own opinions with what I believe Parkinson's going to do. But this is what I just straight up believe that we should do. Whether I'm right or wrong, of course, that remains to be seen. You can make your own judgment. But this is my preferred 11. So, as you can see, this is the lineup I would like to go with. So we have Lee Burge in goal. Now, of course, this is when the difficulties come into play. So the 3 at the back, I've gone with Luke O'Nien on the left side, Bailey right in the middle, and Willis on the right side of that back 3. So I think either Luke O'Nien or Conor McLaughlin could potentially do a job on the left-hand side of that back 3. Because Conor McLaughlin, in all fairness to him, in pre-season when we have seen him, he did actually look very good, and I've been probably his biggest critic since he's joined the club. But he did look very good. He looked very sharp. He was very attack-minded, and I like that. So I believe he might be able to do his job on the right-hand side as that right wing-back position. But I do also love having Hume on one side and O'Nien on the other. It works very well. We've kind of gelled those two in those roles. So Luke O'Nien on that right hand side, he links up very well with the likes of Chris Maguire. He gets balls in, and on the other side, of course, Hume, exactly the same. He gets forward, he's brilliant at taking players on and causing danger for the opposition. So either Luke O'Nien or Conor McLaughlin to interchange for that left centre back position. I just think defensively, Luke O'Nien is considerably better than Conor McLaughlin, and I think because he's worked with Bailey Wright and Willis a lot more, I do think that he would probably have a better partnership there across that back 3. But now moving on to the midfield, you might think this looks a little bit messy, but I do have thinking behind it. So basically, Leadbitter, I think he's almost the first man on the team sheet after the last couple of games. He's been absolutely outstanding. He's been that rock in front of the back 3, and because he sits in front of that back 3, it actually gives the licence for the likes of O'Nien or Willis to break forward with the attack, because then he almost sits back with Bailey Wright when others get forward, and he's really good at that, and he's been distributing play, he's been bossing the midfield and controlling the game and the tempo. He's almost become the Grant Leadbitter of old almost. He's been that good. Now, alongside him, I put Scowen and Maguire, and I've done it in this kind of fashion, in this sort of 3. So let me just explain. So basically, of course, when we defend, this is usually what happens. When we're on the back foot and we're defending, Scowen will tuck in and trap back and sit alongside Grant Leadbitter, whereas Maguire, as and when needed, of course, he will trap back. But in general, even when we are attacking, he will get that sort of free roam role in behind, usually who's up top. So I've gone for Leadbitter, Scowen and Chris Maguire. I'm not too sure on the fitness of Chris Maguire, but he has been training, so I would think that he will be ready to play. Now, the top 2, that's probably the first 2 strikers or players you looked at. Graham and Will Grigg. Do I think this will happen? Not a chance in hell. But I just want to see Danny Graham and Will Grigg together, because I think Graham is such a better target man and a hold-up player, and he's so much better with his feet. And I'd love to see that alongside Will Grigg, because as I've mentioned, and I'm tiring myself out saying it, but Will Grigg was brilliant in pre-season. He was absolutely fantastic. He was scoring goals, he looked sharp, he was fit, and he just looked like a different man. And then when it comes to it, Wyke somehow gets the nod, which I just don't understand, and it wouldn't surprise me if Wyke somehow starts on Saturday against Swindon, which would just really, really annoy me. But I would love to see Danny Graham and Will Grigg given a chance. And like I say, Swindon can see goals. Let's get bodies forward. Let's get strikers in there. Get Danny Graham and Will Grigg, give them a service, and I do think we will score goals. So that would be my preferred starting 11. But now on to my score predictions. So of course, against Swindon, who are currently in 15th, they've had a very inconsistent start to the season. As I did mention earlier, they've won 2 and lost 3, but I think if we do go with a really attacking side, the defence will sort itself out regardless of injuries. So again, if we do go for an attacking side, if we have Charlie Wyke up top, you may as well forget it. Do you know what I mean? You may as well forget it, because we're relying far too much on our midfield. We need to try and give chances to the likes of Grigg and Graham, put them together. We won't see it more than likely. But again, if we do go attacking in any way, shape or form, I would prefer that to having Wyke up top. So I think if Wyke isn't up top, I'm actually going to be going for a bit of a big one here. I'm going to go for a 3-0 Sunderland win. Whether that's a daft thing, I don't know. Depending on how the defence do that day and whether Charlie Wyke starts, which it sounds so harsh. I know one man can't change the whole thing. But when Wyke's up there alone, the ball stops at him. Do you know what I mean? Because the midfield are doing everything. The midfield and the wing-backs are doing everything. And Wyke can't score unless it's handed to him on a plate. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like I've said, do you know what I mean, a few times. I'm not too sure, but I do apologise. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 3-0 Sunderland win. So that will be it, guys. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button for me. It'd be massively, massively appreciated. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already to become a fully fledged member of the Sarny Army. But for now, you take care and stay jamming.